This is the Patriots Drive Podcast.
We are all Patriots.
Where we discuss, analyze, and answer questions to all things happening in the NFL and with our New England Patriots. Now, here's your host, Cole Kelly.
Let's go!
Welcome into another edition of the Patriots Drive Podcast. The Patriots defeated the Giants 22-20 to close out the preseason in New York. Next on tap, Miami at New England, week 1, 14 days away. So we'll be getting right into the regular season. But I'm here with my co-host, Chase Campbell. We're going to recap tonight's game and some of our good players, some of our bad, and breaking down what we saw tonight. How's it going, Chase?
It's going good. Good to get done with the preseason. 3-0. I mean, I guess it doesn't mean too much, but it's good to see, us getting some wins under our belt, especially with no preseason last year, guys getting meaningful reps. So it was good. I'm excited that, we got to see meaningful reps from some of these rookies, some of these guys that we signed on big contracts, some of the guys we signed on one-year deals. So it was good all-around preseason to watch the Patriots.
Yeah, a lot better than going 0-3, at least getting some winning momentum and good vibes in the locker room to start the season.
For sure. So let's jump right into it. Quarterback controversy, quarterback battle has kind of been something that we've been talking about a lot lately. Cam Newton, 2 for 5, 10 yards, an interception. The interception doesn't really fall on him. That was a pretty well-placed ball, in my opinion, just a better play by Blake Martinez for the Giants. But Mac Jones shines again, 10 for 14, 156 yards, a touchdown, has a 131 passer rating. But, Cole, what are your thoughts on this QB battle going into week 1?
I think just based off tonight, you can clearly see Cam Newton starting week 1. It doesn't really seem like a question. Mac got 0 reps with the starters again. None of the starting offensive line was out there with him when he got his opportunities. Cam obviously played with the starters, started out, got the first reps, and practice again once he was back there this week. But yeah, I mean, I thought Cam was all right. I did think that was a pretty solid throw. I felt like he could have placed the ball a little differently with Blake Martinez being right there, maybe throwing it a little bit to the left of Jacoby. But I thought it was a good ball overall, and it was just a fantastic play by the linebacker for the Giants, so Martinez. And yeah, I mean, you saw Jacoby Myers put his hand up, hey, I'm open, and Cam threw it to him. And I don't know what I thought it was a good throw, good play by the defender, but Cam wasn't bad overall. It was hard to really judge him because we didn't really see him that much. He had one drive where we started out at like the 3-yard line, and he threw that pick on that, and he was fine overall. Again, I wasn't super impressed, wasn't really disappointed. I thought he was okay. And then Mac Jones started out slow, but he started out when he was put into the game, he was going with the Patriots' second stringers against the Giants starters. So you got to think about that a little bit with his struggles to start the game, who he was out there with. He was going up against more talented players with less talented players alongside him. So I thought once it was second stringers versus second stringers, second and thirds versus second and thirds, I thought Mac really, really shined and had a good night again, had some really nice throws yet again. And he also 10 for 14, but there was a couple drops in there too. Gunner dropped a couple. And so yeah, overall, I think we kind of found out, as we kind of suspected, Cam's probably going to be starting week 1. Mac didn't really get any reps with starters, but overall, solid game by both quarterbacks.
Yeah, no surprise that Cam's starting week 1, which, I don't think it's a surprise to most. Some people might have wanted Mac. I might have wanted Mac just because of how he's playing, but I'm not surprised at all by Cam. And I'm not mad either. You said it yesterday or last episode, like Cam or Mac, whoever we put out there, I'm not going to be mad. I'm just very encouraged by the things we're seeing from Mac Jones. I think that the quarterback competition has, shrunk, or the gap has shrunk between when Cam went out with COVID, how Mac played in the first couple joint practices, and what we've seen during the preseason. So I think that gap and maybe that leash that Cam Newton is on is shorter than what people might have thought it would have been going into week 1. But it's obviously Cam's job to lose. He's going to go out there. He's going to get, a couple weeks at least in the system, see how he works, and we'll see. I'm excited to see how he plays. I think he deserves a shot. I don't know how big of a leash I have on him, though. It's going to be interesting to see when he comes out if he's turning the ball over, if the offense looks stagnant at times, how frustrated I'm going to be. And maybe that's just because, if we're losing, I'm going to have a bad mindset. But I don't know. I think that Mac Jones is going to be, I think he's pretty close to being ready. He might not be like NFL starting quarterback for 17 games ready, but maybe he is for 10 games, 8 games. I think that he's proven that there's something Patriots fans should be looking forward to for when he does come in and step in that starting role.
I think I'd have a high level of confidence in Mac Jones if he started halfway through the season. I think he'd be absolutely ready. I think the only thing right now that could be holding him back from being able to start week 1 is really seeing defenses start to mix things up and rotate the back end once the ball snapped, change the look of the coverage, confuse the quarterback. For a rookie, when you have no experience in the NFL, a lot of times that's why rookies struggle so much, is because defenses confuse them. They mix things up and get in the quarterback's head. Show one coverage, it looks like man coverage, actually zone, or looks like cover 3, looks cover 1 or cover 2. So it just I think if he sits for the first month, 2 months, he's going to see all those things. He's going to have a better understanding of it. He's going to see it more in practice and different things. He's going to be able to learn more. And I think that's just going to improve his level of ability to be ready starting week 5, week 6, week 7, somewhere in that range. So I think he's definitely seems like he's the most pro ready so far. And I would absolutely have confidence in him starting if it was week 5 and beyond. I think he'd be ready.
Yeah. And, I definitely think the NFL is on a different level than college football. I just don't know how much I buy into that level of he hasn't seen enough defenses. At the NFL level, 100% hasn't seen enough defenses. But I'm pretty sure he's seen a lot of coverages in college. He sat behind Tua. He sat behind Hurts. He played under Saban. He played under Sarkisian. He played under a lot of good coaches in college. Now, he's coming into some of the best coaches, too, in the NFL with Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick. So, yes, there's definitely a learning gap. I think that him sitting behind Cam for a month, like you mentioned, maybe 2, is only going to make him better. So there's no question to that. But I think that he's one of the most pro-ready quarterbacks, like we heard all, coming into the draft, is he could be one of the he might not be the flashiest quarterback, but he's pro-ready. And I think we saw that. Now, there's going to be kinks to work out. We've said this before. He's not going to come in and be immaculate. But I definitely think that we saw this preseason that he's the most pro-ready quarterback in this NFL in the draft class of 2021.
Yeah, and that was the one thing that was his label. He might not have the top end high ceiling, but he's going to be pro-ready, and I think he's lived up to that. And I think he might already have shown people he has a higher ceiling than they might have thought, and his ability to really understand the offense if he's put in the right situation. Being in New England with this offense, if you know how to run it well and you know the answers to all the questions, you're going to be able to have a successful offense in the NFL. So just getting him to really recognize those coverages, like his interception he threw in joint practices on Thursday, it was a coverage that he probably saw maybe once in college, maybe not ever. So once he starts to see those different coverages and see how defenses rotate their safeties, do different stuff like that, I think just the more experience he has, the better he's going to be. And he's just going to continue to have more and more success the more comfortable he gets in this system. But I'm going to pull up a video right here. It's stuff like this that gets you excited. Different throws.
Yeah, I love this throw. I love that throw.
It's perfect ball placement. Throws it down the seam to Asiasi. The defender has leverage on his right shoulder, and he throws it to the left shoulder, throws it back shoulder to Asiasi. Perfect spot where only he can get it down the seam. He makes a lot. He makes at least 2 to 3 wow throws every game where I'm like, wow, that's an NFL throw right there. He's throwing that guy open. Asiasi's covered. He throws it to back shoulder, throws him open. It's just, he's really impressed me in some situations like that so far.
Yeah, and that's what I mentioned last episode is who's had the more wow throws when you're sitting there watching games. How many times has Cam Newton done that? Now, he's had limited snaps, but even last year, like how many times did Cam Newton make a throw in game and we're just kind of like, whoa, like that's our future. Every time I see a game with Mac Jones in, I see, 1 or 2 of those throws like you just showed. The one that we showed last week to I think it was Gunner, where he steps up and throws it in between the 2 defenders pretty much on a frozen rope. We saw the one week 1 that was dropped by Wilkerson in the end zone, the deep ball. Like those are wow throws. And I just don't know how many of those I've seen from Cam Newton, which doesn't mean he's not going to be our starting quarterback come week one. It's just like when you look at the Patriots in this preseason and you see the throws that Mac Jones is making, you're like, that's our future. Like that dude is, I'm excited to be a Patriots fan.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's just shown flashes of why he was drafted in the first round, why he was a 15th overall pick in this draft. He's shown flashes of why he was drafted that high overall. So he had 4 incompletions tonight, and I'll pull up this is the video of a few of those completions. So first one of them throws it, perfect throw, hits Gunner in stride right in the hands, drops it. So that's one of them. Second one, nice play by the defender, kind of jumps in front of Gunner.
Yeah, I like that play. I like seeing his pocket movement right there, stepping up, making a throw on third down, right? He's trying to fit it in there. Gunner's open for a minute there. That's just a good play on that by that corner, like you mentioned. So yeah, he's making throws. We've talked about drops before the first 2 games. So it's not like these 10 for 14 nights couldn't easily have been 12 for 14, 13 for 14. So that's a tip ball right there. That's a little different.
Yeah. But even on that last throw, that was good ball placement where he's splitting 2 defenders, and it's not a risky throw, and you can see he has some zip on it. That was one thing that a lot of people said, oh, Mac doesn't have the arm strength, he can't zip a ball in there. But as we've seen last game, when we were watching the film last game, we saw him zip one into Gunner in between 2 defenders, and that was what he was kind of trying to do there as well. And the corner made a nice play. He was close enough to dive and knock the ball down with his hands. But I mean, he definitely has got the arm strength, and this is the 4th drop here.
Yeah, this one to Zuber.
I mean, that's a perfect throw as well, and Zuber drops it. I mean, it was a tough catch, but I think they'll show the replay here.
I mean, if you think of this one with Zuber, the one with Wilkerson, like those are he could easily have had 2, maybe 3 more touchdowns along with 150, if not more, passing yards in the preseason just off of drops alone.
Oh yeah, no doubt. The one to Nikhil, the one to, I mean, look at that. Yep. You got to catch that. You're an NFL receiver in the end zone.
If you want to make the roster, you got to make those catches, right? And he had another one with that. I guess it wouldn't have been a drop, but there was another one that Zuber, I think it might have gotten deflected, or it was actually a good play by the defense. But there's a couple catches in there that you're seeing by these guys that aren't like our top tier receivers. That you're like, if that's like a Nelson Agholor and or a Kendrick Bourne, or hopefully Jacoby Myers or N'Keal Harry, you're like, those are going to be caught. You got to assume, and you hope they are. If our receiving core can't catch those ones perfectly placed by Cam or Mac, we got bigger problems than the quarterback spot. So
yeah, exactly. So that's what's kind of been frustrating is like, I just want to see Mac out there with starters, whether it's one drive, just see what he can do with guys who consistently can make plays, catch the ball. I just want to see him with starters in a game situation. I want to see what he can do, because we see Cam, we see what he can do with the starters. We see what Mac can do with second stringers against other second stringers. But I mean, when you see consistently Mac making these throws in the back of the end zone, hitting guys in the hands, back shoulder, placing the ball perfectly, and they're dropping it, it's frustrating, because it's like, yeah, I mean, Mac had his first touchdown throw tonight, and he could have already had 3 before this game, and then he could have had another couple tonight with a couple of balls were caught. So it's just, I'd like to see him with some actual starters and give him a real chance of being in this quarterback competition, because at this point it's Cam starting, and we didn't really get to see a whole lot of Mac, which I'm sure that's probably what Bill actually wanted. He probably didn't want us to see too much of Mac, and
yeah,
but I thought he was good. He made more special throws tonight, just like second preseason game, just like the first preseason game. He's continuing to improve, and he looks great pretty much every time we see him out there.
Yeah. Speaking of that first touchdown pass that he threw, here it is to Isaiah Zuber. Wraps the run or the linebacker and fits it in there before that 52 can get there at linebacker. Hopefully they show kind of a back shot, but this is a dang good throw too. I mean, this takes some balls to throw, because you got a linebacker coming across that could undercut it and pick it, and then you got 2 safeties that are trying to take his head off right there. So that's a dang good throw right there for his first touchdown. Could have been his 3rd, 4th touchdown. But yeah, he finally finds the end zone, gets a ball in there, which is good to see. So I was very impressed with his performance tonight, just like I've been in all 3 games. It's not like this is new for us. Like, we've seen this for 3 games now, where he's came out, he's looked ready. He looks like a rookie quarterback. Like, he needs to work out some things, and that's probably why he's not going to start. but he's came out and he's shown us why we took him with the 15th overall pick.
Yeah, and I mean, he's already looked better than our starter, but the thing that gives Cam the edge is he has 10 years of experience going against different defenses. He probably has a better ability to adjust on the fly to those defenses because he's seen them before. He's seen them multiple times. He sees them every year. Once Max sees them the first couple times, Mac's going to go right back ahead in that advantage of that aspect of the game because Mac is a lot better setting up the play pre-snap, making sure everybody's where they're supposed to be, going through his reads, his progressions, and hitting it on time to who it's supposed to go to. That's where he has an advantage over Cam. So once he recognizes the defense and understands what the different defenses are trying to do to him and trying to confuse him with, once he picks that apart and understands it, it's just going to add a whole new level to his offense with Mac in there. So I think it's going to be hard to not have him starting at quarterback for the Patriots once he starts to pick up those things and understand them on a consistent basis.
Yeah, for me, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when right now. I think a lot of Patriots fans know that because Mac Jones is better at throwing the ball than Cam Newton. No doubt about it. It's just like you said, experience, it's NFL reps, it's a lot of different things that Mac can't control just because, he's younger, he's a rookie, and, we can't take that away from him. I think everything that Mac has done or that he's needed to have done and shown, he's shown. He went out there, he's had a great attitude, he's shown knowledge of the playbook, he's thrown the ball well, extremely well. He's, commanded that huddle. So everything that Mac Jones can control, he controlled well. It's just there's some things, and Cam Newton's a veteran in the league. That's why New England re-signed him for a year. They want him here so that he can, lead Mac, lead the team. So yeah, there's no doubt about it that Mac is going to come in eventually because he is definitely a more talented passer than Cam Newton is at this point in their career. So
yeah, I agree. I'm so excited for the real season to start and for us to get a few weeks in and to get to Mac's first start, because I can't wait to see what he does. Real games, real people, real weapons around him, starting offensive line, all these guys. I want to see him with the starters and see what he can do in a live game, because I've been super impressed. And my original thought when we first drafted him, without seeing him practice, anything like that, I thought, okay, Mac's probably going to sit whole year. It's going to be Cam's year, unless Cam's terrible. Cam will go 17 games and Mac will be ready next year. He'll get experience for a year, just sitting down, learning the playbook, learning different things, mastering different defenses and the playbook in general. And he's changed my mind. I think he's shocked a lot of people this year with everything he's been able to do and how he's been able to pick up the offense so quickly. He knows, it seems like he has a better understanding of this offense in 3 months than Cam has in a year and a half, which is shocking. It's really impressive, especially coming from college. You think Cam's been in the NFL for 10 years, 11 years, whatever year this is for him. And a guy coming out of college has this level of mastery of the playbook already. You see him running 2-minute offense, no huddle, like it's nothing. He's driving the ball down the field, 90 something yards. I've been really impressed. And I think he's definitely going to be ready a lot sooner rather than later, like we've discussed.
For sure. Well, we talked about it last week. Maybe we just talked about it. We didn't tell people, but we're doing a segment here. We're going with the good, the bad, and then, we'll hit up onto the injury report after. But we're each going to say one good player, maybe two, because there was multiple goods, and then someone that we were a little down on or something in the game. But Cole, let's start with you. One of your good players from tonight's win against the Giants.
Yeah, I had Christian Wilkerson. He had 4 catches, 72 yards, an average of 18 yards per catch. I thought he stepped up. He struggled with drops a little bit. He wasn't doing that great in practice. We didn't hear about him a lot on the practice field during these joint practices with the Eagles, with the Giants, all this stuff. You didn't really hear his name a lot. He was hyped up a lot early in camp before our first preseason game against Washington. He made a couple plays. He also dropped a couple balls. So I thought this was a big bounce back game for him. His last opportunity to really say, all right, I deserve a spot on this roster. And I thought he did pretty well. I didn't see any drops. Maybe he had one, but I didn't see any. He had, 72 yards, 18 yards per catch. That would have been like 4th in the league in the NFL last year, like over the course of the year. Obviously, that's just below what Nelson Agholor had, and he was 2nd. So he had some big plays. Max stepped up in the pocket and really zipped some balls to him, and I thought he was great today.
Yeah, I was impressed with Wilkerson. We've heard about Wilkerson in all of camp, and we haven't really seen it come out onto this field, but I think we saw it today. 4 catches on 5 targets, 72 yards. We see that 18 yards per catch, which is big because I think we have a lot of guys that can run intermediate routes. You think of Kendrick Bourne, you think of Jacoby Myers, you think guys like, James White. You need a guy that can blow the top off a defense, especially if Nelson Agholor isn't there. And I thought that Christian Wilkerson was good tonight. So I'm excited to see him break out. Maybe it was a little too late. I hope he can still find a spot on this roster as they're going to start cutting down tomorrow or Tuesday.
By Tuesday at 4, they have to have it down to 53, I think.
From 80. So they got to make
a lot of cuts. Big jump.
And, we all know the receiver room. You already got Agholor, Bourne, Myers. Who knows what they do in N'Keal Harry? I don't see them, cutting him. Maybe it surprises me. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Wilkerson. I think he definitely showed that he has the potential to stay here and, be a contributing receiver. But then we get to the point where I think this is another one of your goods is Isaiah Zuber, right, where he had 4 catches, 50 yards, 1 touchdown. So now it heats up that discussion where is it Wilkerson, is it Zuber, is it both? Where do you cut the line at?
Yeah, it's tough. There's a lot of guys fighting for spots in this roster, and I thought both those guys had good games. I think if Isaiah Zuber made a little bit, if he made that catch that we just showed on the video of a little bit ago, if he made that catch, that would have been 2 touchdowns, 5 catches for 60 something yards. So I think that would have added to his case a little bit. That drop there didn't really help his case that much, but I mean, I think it's going to come down to how much these guys can contribute on special teams. I know Wilkerson wanted to be involved in special teams, and he was going out there with Slater at practices like we talked about and trying to learn different things and trying to make himself have more versatility and have a bigger role in this team to really solidify a spot on this roster. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. I don't think both these guys have a spot, but it'll be interesting to see which one, if one of them does make this roster.
Yeah, and I think that there's definitely a spot for both of them because, like you mentioned, special teams. Zuber's going to play special teams. Wilkerson could get in some special teams. We saw last year where Isaiah Zuber was pretty good on, fly sweeps, and we saw him this year where he can we saw him today. He had that catch from Mac Jones. He could have had 2 touchdowns. So there's definitely potential in both of them. It's just what does New England see in these guys? Do they think there's a spot for him? Would they rather take a bigger bodied guy for special teams like a linebacker, a Harvey Longy, who I thought was very good tonight with 7 tackles? He's making the most out of everything, every rep that he's getting. So this is where the roster cuts get hard. You're going from 80 to 54. That's what 26 roster cuts, 26 players that are going to be without a job, come Tuesday at 4:00. So it's tough. It's not just, performance in the preseason. It's, what's the depth at the position? What's the body type you want for special teams too? They could have, with receiver, you could have 3 corners that are better than him at special teams. And now you need a guy to run down the middle of the field and take on double team blocks on kickoff. So it's tough. I would like to see both of Zuber and Wilkerson get a spot, but we really don't know, what's going through New England's head until Tuesday at 4, my bad.
And Zuber had a nice little role last year. He came in for us when we needed him. He was stashed on the practice squad, and we always elevated him. Like half the year, we kept elevating him and setting him back down, elevating him. But when he got his opportunities, he did well. We used him on some little gadget plays, different sweeps, stuff like that. I think he was used in special teams a little bit. So I'd like to see us keep him. Maybe if he can get stashed on the practice squad, hopefully we can do that again this year if he doesn't make it. But yeah, that's what's tough about having a roster that's got some depth to it like we have this year. We haven't had a roster this deep in a while. So there's going to be probably 5 to 8 players that we cut that might end up making an NFL roster elsewhere. So you're going to lose some talented guys, and it's just going to be which positions you want more depth at. And if you're dealing with injuries, like N'Keal's got an injury, so maybe we want to keep a wide receiver. It really comes down to different things like that.
Yeah, we'll find out on Tuesday. Another one for me, my good player comes in the form of a tight end that, we didn't expect to see many reps because of the signings we had with Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. But second-year tight end Devin Asiasi, 4 catches, 64 yards tonight. Obviously, you already showed that one on a great catch, adjusting to the back shoulder throw. Here is another one. This was his first catch of the night. I think that shows his athleticism where he here it is right here. Catches it, hurdles a defender, gets some extra yards. So I was very impressed by Devin Asiasi tonight, which I think is good because if one of these tight ends does go down, do we want to change our whole game plan and not go, 12 personnel a lot of the time? Do we have to get into 11 now with an injury. But I think Asiasi showed tonight that he's capable. I thought he was very good at UCLA coming out of the draft. When he 2 years ago when we took him in the 4th round. So I'm excited. I think this is encouraging for us to see Devin Asiasi come in and do good, even though it's, only the last game of the preseason. But he did some good things tonight on the field, not only in pass catching, but I thought run blocking, he showed, potential also.
It's funny. He didn't show up last year until the final game versus the Jets. That's when he had his first touchdown, all that stuff. And then he doesn't show up till the last game of preseason. But no, I was impressed. I thought he needed this game, especially after last week when he was the only tight end active on the roster besides, Jakob Johnson, but he's our fullback. He is a tight end, but he's a fullback. So, last week he had no catches as our only tight end. You can't have that. So I thought it was big for him to step up, bounce back, get 4 catches, 64 yards. He had a solid game. I think he needed it. I think Lacoste out right now, Asiasi's trying to prove, hey, I can be this 3rd wide receiver. If somebody goes down, I can step up and I can be that 2nd guy. We can still run 12 personnel. I can still make an impact on this team. So I thought it was a big night for him. And yeah, I was impressed. I was a little bit surprised, to be honest, because after he was a no-show last game, him showing back up and saying, hey, I'm still here and I'm slowly improving and can be a useful asset to this team. I thought this was a big night for him.
Yeah, and it's got to be good to see because, like you mentioned, injuries are bound to happen. Knock on wood. Hopefully they don't. He actually posted some good numbers when he was at UCLA his last year. He started at Michigan in 16 and then transferred, finished his last few years at UCLA. But 44 receptions on 614 yards. He averaged 14 and a half yards per reception in 19, and in 18 he averaged 21.7 yards per catch. For UCLA. So we're getting a guy that's pretty athletic. He might be a little different. He might be more of a Jonnu Smith type of guy where he's going to be able to catch it and make guys miss, run after the catch, while Hunter Henry's going to be a bigger red zone target. But I like the Devin Asiasi thing. It's good to see him come because Dalton Keene out for the season with an injury. That was one tight end we drafted last year also. So at least one of them that we spent, a second round or a second day pick on is coming through and doing some things for us.
Yeah, exactly. And one last thing on the offensive side of the ball I wanted to touch on before we touch on the defense, the running backs, Ramondre Stevenson, JJ Taylor. I thought they both had solid games. JJ Taylor averaged 8.4 yards per carry on 9 carries, 76 yards. That's pretty solid. Damian Harris, 7.2 yards per carry. Ramondre Stevenson, 4.6 yards per carry. So I thought all these guys did well. Damian Harris had a good game. He only had 4 rushes, but he had that one long one for like 20 yards, something like that. So I thought he did solid, but these backs 2, 3, 4 are some of our running backs further down the depth chart. I think they've been really showing up. Ramondre Stevenson got his 5th touchdown in preseason tonight. He was solid within the 10-yard line. I think they handed it off to him. It was like an 8-9 yard touchdown run. He did good. JJ Taylor did solid. I think they're both contributing out of the backfield, showing their versatility, and I think that's great. I think if we have 4 or 5 running backs who can all catch the ball, create after the catch, and all run the ball in different situations, goal line. Even JJ Taylor, he was at the goal line last game. He had a toss, got a touchdown on that. Ramondre Stevenson, he has a nose for the end zone. Every time he's in the red zone, seems like he scores. So I was really impressed with all our running backs tonight. I thought their continued success was encouraging.
Yeah, JJ Taylor's slowly cementing himself into that James White role for next year. James White on a 1-year contract. Worth $2.3 million. He's going to be 30 after next year. So do they bring him back? Do they not? But I think JJ Taylor's making a case, to take over that spot and be that 3rd down back. And what I like that I'm seeing from him is he's not just a pass catcher. When you think of James White, you think maybe just a 3rd down type of scat back that can get out. But we're not seeing that with JJ Taylor. Like you mentioned, yards per carry is up with JJ Taylor. He's doing great things. Ramondre Stevenson just continuing to impress us. I think it solidifies that Sony Michel trade. Why they did it, why New England did it, because he does have a high upside. Right now, I'm liking what I see out of Ramondre Stevenson as a rookie more than I did Sony Michel. And that's tough to say because Sony Michel led us to a Super Bowl, helped us big time. But early in the season, he wasn't doing what Ramondre Stevenson was. So I think it's a good changeup to have Stevenson as our running back 2 that can come in and be that bruising back, kind of like LeGarrette Blount. I've thrown out that comparison a lot, maybe a little too much, but I think he comes in, he can punish guys, he can make people miss, he can break tackles. So I'm very impressed with that running back room. And, it's only going to get better when we're giving Damian Harris 20 plus touches a game and James White can come in and these guys aren't having to do everything, but they're showing that they can come in and they can be great backs out of the backfield too.
Yeah, especially you never know injuries in the backfield. I think we kind of touched on it last week, especially trading away Sony Michel. That means they definitely have confidence in some of these guys. You're not going to trade away your second best running back if you don't have confidence in the depth behind him. So, yeah, it's good to see they have the confidence in him, and it's good to see these guys showing up and proving why it's okay to trade Sony Michel, because we got two guys here, both that can do different things, both that can do multiple different things, and they're both proving their worth, and they're playing well. It's encouraging, especially because this is going to be such a big part of our team this year, running the football. It was a big part of our team last year, and having different guys that can step in and take some carries off Damian Harris's plate, it's going to be huge for keeping him healthy throughout the season. So, yeah, I'm excited about seeing the continued growth and the success that Ramondre Stevenson and JJ Taylor both had throughout this preseason.
Oh yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited to see how they do, and they might not get too much opportunities in the regular season because I still think that this is Damian Harris's and James White's backfield. But if they do have to, it's encouraging for Patriots fans. So I'm excited. But let's move on to the defense side of the ball. A lot of good continuing from the defense. On your Instagram, you mentioned, going into halftime, offense looking a little sluggish, defense doing their part, why we paid some guys the big money. But the big thing coming in with D'Angelo Ross stepping in, making a crucial interception in the end zone on Daniel Jones as they're on the 1 yard line. So what'd you see out of the defense and specifically our secondary that you liked?
There was honestly a lot of guys that I thought played well tonight on the defensive side of the ball, more in the front seven than the secondary. But I mean, just to note on that D'Angelo Ross interception, the play before that on what was it, second and goal? Yeah, second and goal, I think. The play before that, defense stuffs the running back at the 1 yard line. That they were already at the one, stuffed them for no gain. So that made Daniel Jones have to throw the ball. He rolled out of the pocket, tried to fit it in there, and D'Angelo Ross made a play. And he also made a play earlier on a tackle. I think it was a third down, and he tackled him just short, but they ended up going for it on fourth down and got it. But Ross made a few key plays in this game, and I thought he had a really nice game. But a couple other guys, Matt Judon, again, he was solid. He didn't make as many big plays necessarily, but you always saw him around the football in the backfield. He had one play where I think it was third down. He went, rushed the passer, and then he got yanked from behind, and they didn't call a flag, but he still was right in the backfield. So I thought he was great. And another guy, Josh Uche. We've heard about him practice all year, and he was phenomenal. He was great. He was always in the backfield, getting pressure on the quarterback no matter what. His speed rush is just unstoppable. He snaps off the ball and just flies into the backfield like it's nothing. So I thought a lot of guys on the defensive line showed up tonight, including another guy, Christian Barmore. I thought he was good. He was involved in a few different plays. Devon Godchow early and split a double team and made got a run stop behind the line of scrimmage. So I was really impressed with a lot of different guys.
Yeah, you mentioned Josh Uche, and that was one guy I was going to mention, on my good too, is he just looks fast, like twitchy fast, where he gets off the ball, he ducks his shoulder, he doesn't get blocked, he gets to the quarterbacks. I'm looking at this stat right here. He's recorded 3. This was just weeks 1 and 2 in the preseason. He's recorded. Oh, now I lost the stat. It's down here a little. He recorded 3 QB hurries in 17 snaps played. So, that's a big number. If you're getting that, I mean, I think that's somewhere around 30%. Maybe I'm a little high or low, but that's good. That's what we need. We mentioned Chase Winovich was coming off of an injury. We have Judon and Van Noy on the other side, Ronnie Perkins, depending on what he does. But this is what we talked about when we talked about Josh Uche having a potential breakout, sophomore season. And this is what New England does, is they go out and they find these late round, mid-round guys that maybe weren't, the standouts in college. They had limited reps, limited things, but they develop them. They take their rookie year, they give them a little experience, and then they're hitting the ground running in year 2. So Josh Uche is a prime example of someone that I'm looking forward to watch, all season. I think that his speed rush, when he comes on, it changes the whole, complexion of what the offensive line is going to do. Cause you literally, you can't guard him. If he gets a jump on you, he's almost unblockable. Yeah.
Yeah. It's over, especially for a tackle. I mean, I think what's going to make him so special this year and why I think he could have a great year. He might not have, crazy sack numbers, but every time he's on the field, he's going to be a guy to watch, because especially with the guys we got Judon, we got Kyle Van Noy, we got all these different edge rushers. that Uche can play a specialized role this year. He can be a third down pass rusher. He can just come in on third downs and just pin his ears back and just fly into the backfield and put pressure on the quarterback. So I think he could have a really specialized role this year, and he could be incredible at it, and he can make an impact every time he's on the field. He can spell Judon once in a while. I can't remember who it was. One Hightower maybe, I think, called Uche Mini Judon or Little Judon. So he's got talent. Judon's one of the better pass rushers in the league, and seeing Uche be so young and being able to develop these different pass rush moves in the speed rush and just being able to be in the backfield almost every time he's on the field, it's impressive, and it's going to make a true impact on the game.
For sure. The other guy that I was, not necessarily impressed with, but something that we should hit on, New England acquires Shaun Wade from Baltimore for a 4th and a 6th. Is that right?
5th and a 7th.
5th and a 7th. A 4th and a 6th is what we got
for Sony.
Or what we got for Sony. Yeah, I had those mixed up. But Shaun Wade, a guy that I really liked coming out of Ohio State. He was better in 2019 than he was in 2020 when he was in the slot, playing slot corner. So I'm very excited to see Shaun Wade. Obviously, a lot of people are going to remember that last-second touchdown that he allowed tonight, but he comes back on the 2-point conversion, plays pretty good defense, in front of the guy. There's another play that was a great catch by the Giants receiver, but he was right on him. That's tight coverage. It's just a good ball, a good catch by the Giants. But I'm very excited to see Shaun Wade come in. I think that he helps our cornerback depth now, assuming that we still get Stephon Gilmore back. Like this makes me very, very, not concerned anymore about where we go if we do have injuries or if Gilmore doesn't return. Now, obviously he's raw. He was a 5th-round pick for a reason because he had a little down year, but he's got the potential, man. I loved him out of Ohio State. So I'm excited about this acquisition.
Yeah, I am as well. And he kind of struggled on the outside a little bit his last year of college, which is what dropped him down. But I mean, he's all over this receiver here in the red zone.
Did you hear the announcers on this play? I was listening to the Giants broadcast, I think.
I was listening to the Pats one.
Yeah, so I think I was listening to Giants one because I was just on NFL Game Pass, but it was like, that's face guarding. That's a horrible no call. I was like, that's like textbook coverage. Come on.
He was all over him. He was perfect. Him. Yeah. So he was just blanketed him. I thought he had a solid game. That one, it looked like he fell back in the end zone. He I don't know if he got pushed. I don't know what it didn't. I don't really know what happened, but it was a tough play. I thought he was solid. I think he played a little bit inside, but mostly outside tonight. And I thought he was good. You didn't hear his name called a lot, which is a good thing. So for him to just get traded to us a couple days ago and be involved in the game and do solid, I was happy with it. And I agree. That's probably the biggest thing we've talked about doing this show this summer is our concerns with the cornerback depth. And I think that's something that he adds to this team. So I was super excited about the acquisition. I think it's a great piece to add. Obviously, I think we still need Gilmore back, but having a guy who can fill in at slot corner, maybe outside corner when we need him, and maybe even a guy in the future who he's got a 6'1" frame. People have talked about him moving to free safety at some point. I mean, Devin McCourty's going to be retiring in the next year or two, probably. So you never know. It's just adding another depth piece in the secondary, add another guy that can do different things and fill multiple different roles. That never hurts.
Yeah, Shaun Wade, like we mentioned with Jawan Williams, a little bit bigger, 6'1", 195. So I mean, he can play multiple positions if he learn. I'm looking at his 2019 coverage stats from Pro Football Focus. I mean, he's having 7 pass breakups. He's allowing 56% completion percentage on him. Last year gets a little closer to that 65% completion percentage, which just backs up how we said he struggles. But he's played at the highest level at Ohio State. He's been guarding good receivers. They've been in the playoffs. He's been having to go against Devontae Smith in the national championship. He went against Amari Rodgers for Clemson and stuff like that. So he's going against good receivers in college. Struggled a little, but I'm excited to see how he comes on if they move him somewhere. But I'm more excited to see him in the slot corner position role because in 2019 when he was when Pro Football Focus graded him on pass rushing snaps. So when Ohio State's bringing pressure, he graded out at a 92.5%, which is, top like 95th percentile. So you can put him on a corner, put him on an island on the corner if you want to blitz and play man coverage. He has that potential that he just needs to, get out of the little slump he's in, maybe get coached up by Belichick, learn from Gilmore, JC Jackson. I think he has, great potential. This could be a guy that we look at in 3-4 years and say, how did we get him for a 5th and a 7th?
Yeah. And the guys in that cornerback room and in that secondary in general, some of the veterans we have, it's going to be great people for him to learn from. He was just in Baltimore. There was a lot of great guys there for him to learn from. I think PFF graded him as gave him the number one cornerback coverage grade out of rookie corners, I believe. I'm not positive on that, but I'm pretty sure he was number 1, and he's been playing outside corner all preseason. So that's not what's considered to be his strong suit. So seeing him grade that high still at that outside cornerback position, it's exciting. I think he's got talent, and getting him for a 5th and a 7th, if he doesn't work out, I mean, Jawan Williams, we spent a 2nd round pick on. So, I mean, we've spent worse on corners. So I don't think you're giving him a 5th and a 7th. It's not a big deal if he doesn't work out. If he does work out, that's great value for a cornerback who can add some value to this team. So I'll show this play real quick of the one we were talking about where he let up that touchdown. But
yeah,
I mean,
and
pretty good coverage. He's right there too. And then it looks like I don't know if it looked like the receiver might have pushed off a little bit, and that's why he kind of tripped, but he was all over him again.
Yeah, I'm looking at this play and watching it in real time. I'm not like, I think it's a good no call, but there's definitely contact by both players. You get the arm extended, so it's not like he just falls and stuff. There, it was assisted by the receiver. There's a reason he fell, but if I truly believe if he doesn't trip right there, he stays in front of him, he jumps, he knocks it down. It's just unfortunate that they're both in a hand fight. Maybe he gets stepped on. Maybe he rolls his ankle or something right here where. Yeah, it looks like he kind of gets tripped or stepped on right there where he has to fall down. But he comes back, and I don't know if we have that clip of the last play, but they just tried to throw a fade route on him. And, when you're 6'1" like that and you can jump and you can play on an island, it just didn't work. He had good coverage there. Ball wasn't well thrown by Glennon anyway. So, no, he's exciting. He makes my, worries about the cornerback position less of a worry, although, still we're talking about no Gilmore, which I think is the big thing now going into 14 days until we play week 1 against Miami is what does Stephon Gilmore do? What's his situation? Does he resign? Does he hold out? What is going to happen there?
And I think we might get some clarity on it hopefully soon, because I believe I read something where they have to make a decision on him before the Tuesday deadline because he's on PUP. So he either has to come off PUP and be on the 53 by the end of Tuesday, or if he's not, I think he has to miss the first 6 games. So I'm really hoping that tomorrow or Tuesday they take him off PUP and they get the situation figured out, because if Gilmore is not on the field, we just talked about adding depth with Gilmore there. That's going to be good. But if Gilmore is not on the field, I'm still concerned about this cornerback position. We have a couple more pieces of added depth now, like we've been talking about, but still, Stephon Gilmore's a lockdown number 1 corner, and I mean, especially going in week 1 against Miami, you got a rookie Jalen Waddle, you got Devontae Parker. Will Fuller's not going to be playing week 1 because he's suspended, but it's just there's a lot of talented receivers, and the passing offenses in this league are just getting better and better. So having a guy like Gilmore on the field who can lock down a receiver week to week, their number 1 receiver every week is going to be huge. So I hope that situation gets resolved quickly, because if not, it's not going to be great.
Yeah, we need an answer now. That's the one thing I'm looking forward to as a Patriots fan now is what happens with Stephon Gilmore. Now, obviously, I think the quarterback position's set for week 1 at least. It's kind of behind us. We're still going to get, reported numbers from practice. But now the big thing looking, and I think it's been a big thing all preseason, but now that, like you mentioned, there's a timeline to it. He's got to make a decision soon. New England does is that when does that decision come and what is it? That's got to be priority number 1. And we've talked about it. So it's going to be interesting. I hope they get it done.
And we got the cap space to do it. So just do it. I think both sides need to just say, all right, when they get back on Monday or tonight, whatever, tomorrow morning, say, all right, let's get this figured out. We'll say, hey, you come back to practice these next 2 days, show us that you're still healthy and still are a number 1 corner, and we'll give you what you deserve. We'll work something out and have kind of a good faith agreement. Say, Gilmore, you get back on the field, we take you off PUP, and you show that you're still healthy and you're ready to go and compete at a high level, and we'll give you will up your pay this year and give you a 1 year added on top of that. So I hope it gets resolved because he's our best player when healthy. So it's going to be big having him back on the field. But we'll kind of transition over to the bat. Unless do you have any other goods you want to touch on?
No, I don't. I think that we hit on, obviously there was a lot of goods today. We could have hit on, and we did hit on Mac Jones, but there's other guys. But I like you were going to say, let's go to the bads. Maybe not too many bads. Maybe there was. Mine's a little different, but we'll start off with you, Cole. Who did you have as kind of that struggled tonight?
I had two people, but the one in particular was Michael Jackson. I thought he had a tough night. Repeatedly, especially on one drive, he had one horrible drive. Let's have a big third down pass. He wasn't even close to the receiver, and then he missed the tackle. The receiver ran by him, and then he went and had to tackle him. Then we got to third down, and he held somebody. The pass wasn't even intended for his guy, and he held somebody. Juwan Williams was good in coverage, broke the ball up. It would have been fourth down, but he got called for holding. And then he had another one where he let up another pass or got a penalty again. He struggled tonight. He wasn't great, and it's tough because that's probably his roster spot right there. And you hate to see it. You never like to see guys perform badly and not perform up to the level that you think they could perform to, because this is a do or die situation. He's trying to make the team. He's trying to make the roster, and it didn't make a great case tonight. Especially he had a strong preseason. Prior to that training camp, he was doing pretty solid, but tonight he really struggled, and it's unfortunate to see.
Yeah, I was actually going to send you Michael Jackson's senior too, but I figured you'd have him because, like you mentioned, I just remember, and I kept looking. I'm like, 35. Who's 35? I kept thinking of Kyle Duggar because that's what he wore last year.
Yeah.
I'm like, who is this? So yeah, he had a couple bad drives there. Just struggled, and like you mentioned. Probably loses his roster spot there. I think that Jonathan Jones has a spot for sure, even though he's injured. Juwan Williams probably earned a spot.
I will say he made a couple nice plays. He did make up for it a couple times with a couple pass breakups, and I think he almost had an interception one play, and he dropped it, and he was pissed because that would have helped his case out a little bit. But he did make some plays. He wasn't all terrible, but he definitely had a couple drives where it really stood out, and it was like, oh God, he's struggling. So I just want to say that.
Yeah, no, it was a rough night for him. And when you think about it, like D'Angelo Ross had a good night. Is that enough to get him a roster spot? Jalen Mills will get a roster spot, obviously. Adrian Colbert had a good night. Justin Bethel's going to get a spot.
How do we not mention him?
Yeah, Justin Bethel's going to get a spot just because of special teams. But yeah, it seems like his roster spot kind of is one of those 26 that's going to have to be, sadly taken. So
yeah, I agree. And Adrian Colbert did have a great night. He had that one play where he let up a touchdown, but he was right there in coverage. He stuck his arm up, and it just missed his fingertips. And it was a great throw by Daniel Jones and a great catch by the tight end. So
yeah,
that was tough to see, but he had a couple great tackles, had a couple pass breakups. I thought he was solid, making plays around the field. We're a little biased, but I thought he had a good game.
Yeah, I was happy to see that. My bad comes in a weird form. So it wasn't a player. There was obviously guys. I mentioned Michael Jackson. Mine comes in the form of Mac Jones taking 4 sacks. Now, 2 of them I really don't think were on him. This one, I'm going to show you. This looks just like simple man right here. Man, maybe 1 high, 2 high safeties right here, but you got one of these 2 linebackers on the tight end, and then everyone else is just either press man playing at different levels. But you got Gunnar Olszewski here in the slot that's just going to run an option route, and Mac Jones just totally misses him and takes a sack on 3rd and 9 where we have to punt. So it was a little concerning to see him take 4 sacks right there. That's a classic New England play where someone hits, Julian Edelman, Gunnar Olszewski. If he throws it right, he might be able to get up and dive for the first down with that cornerback breaking on it. So mine's a little different. I'm not down on Mac Jones. I don't think he played bad by any means. It's just when you take 4 sacks, there's got to be, some of those were definitely on him. There was one before halftime that looked like he was trying to call a timeout, didn't get it, tried to extend the play. That's a different story because he's trying to, score before halftime. There was another one where I thought that he stayed in the pocket. He should have scrambled and he got hit from the backside. I forget if that was on a 3rd down too, but I thought there was two instances where Mac Jones could have gotten rid of the ball earlier or sooner and didn't. But that just comes with, being a rookie quarterback. You got to have that eternal clock in the back of your head. You got to know when to get rid of it, where to look on 3rd downs, especially when they're going to be bringing pressure, or if they're just in simple man, you got to pick the matchup you want. So That was my bad for the night. Not too big of a, horrible thing. I think that's something easy that McDaniels and Belichick are going to, work on him with. And obviously if he's playing with the starting offensive line, who knows if that even happens, but awareness and pocket presence was something for me for Mac.
And I think that's one thing that is partially a reason that he's not going to be starting week 1 probably is a few of these rookie mistakes. You saw it on the play clock winding down, didn't get a timeout call, didn't snap the ball. I mean, it didn't even look like he was about to call a timeout or about to snap the ball. So we got to delay a game. It seems like, and it's tough because Mac is on the field more than Cam in the preseason, but it seems like there's a lot more penalties on the offense when Mac is out there. And I don't know. I'm not sure why that is. I think it's probably just because he's in with the second teamers and they're not as well disciplined usually. So that's probably a big key is he's with the second teamers, but also that delay game, that was probably on him. A couple of those sacks are probably on him as well. The only thing that I will say to defend him a little bit is it looked like that. So that one to Gunner that you just showed, he did that. Definitely that one was on him. He should have thrown it.
Yeah.
I will say one good thing, he did at least step up in the pocket and try to get to the line of scrimmage because we still got a field goal. So that was one good thing. But also on a few of those sacks that I saw, I was looking at that too. I noticed, I was like, all right, he's been sacked a few times now, but most of them that I saw, I felt like it was 3rd and long situations where he was just looking around. He's saying, all right, I mean, if I get sacked, it's 4th down, we punt anyways. Let's see if anybody can get open. And some of them, nobody was open down the field. They showed a couple of replays. None of the wide receivers were open. And it's tough to, I mean, as a rookie, you don't want to make a bad throw and throw an interception. That's not going to help you any. So he took the sack, but I agree with you. That is something that I think he needs to work on. And I think as he builds experience, as he gets more comfortable and just works on these things, I think he's going to get better at that. But I agree. That was one thing that I think he could work on.
Yeah. There was one sack. It might've been the first one he took where he doesn't roll, but he slides to his left and tries to step up in the pocket and you lose him in the pile. And I really thought he was going to step out of it and be able to extend the play, either run or pass, but he kind of got taken down. So there's good things you're seeing in the pocket, but like you mentioned, there's things where he's got to improve on now. If that's Cam Newton, Cam probably ducks and runs. That's the luxury of Cam is he's mobile. He can get that first down running. Mac, like you mentioned, if it's 3rd and long, he's got to extend the play and look downfield. He's probably not going to run for 12 plus yards, maybe even 10 plus yards and get the first down. They're going to close out on him a lot sooner than they would Cam Newton. So yeah, he's at a little disadvantage in that aspect of the game, but you never want to see sacks taken. It was good that he at least got back to line of scrimmage on there and Nick Folk could hit that field goal through. So there's good, there's bad. It's, learning curves that he's got to get through. But that was the one thing that I noticed. It was just, kind of always in the back of my head was, 4 sacks, 20 lost yards. I think it was when, you're a rookie quarterback battling for a job, you'd like to see him either get rid of them or at least throw the ball where, give your receiver a chance. Now you don't want to throw an errant pass where it could be intercepted, but yeah.
Yeah. Another guy that I had on the bad list was Gunner. I thought he struggled a little bit. Again, a couple drops. Some that you really think, okay, I mean, a wide receiver in the NFL should be able to make these catches. So the one we showed earlier, he should have caught, hit him right in the hands, in stride, would have been a first down and more, especially with his ability to kind of create after the catch, being a punt returner, kick returner, all that stuff. So I thought he had a little bit of a tough night. He's had a couple, he's been up and down. He's had some practices where he goes 4 for 4 with, 4 catches and 50 yards or whatever in practice. You see stats like that. And then you see, all right, Gunner drops 3 passes this practice and he's kind of struggling again. So it's just, he's up and down. You don't like to see that. You'd like to see him be a little more consistent, but he was one guy that I had on the bad list tonight.
Yeah. And then for me, going on to the injured, it's not an injury that happened tonight. Maybe you have one that happened tonight, but mine comes in the form of Jonathan Jones, who we got, news on that it's not significant. It's nothing that's going to hold him out for a little bit or for an extended period of time. Maybe he has to miss week 1. Hopefully not, but that's big for Jonathan Jones and our secondary, as we mentioned, that's been so thin. He started 16 games all 4 years, played in 72% of snaps that the defense was on the field last year. So, that's big to hear that that's nothing, severe and he's not going to miss, half the season at least.
Yeah, that was a huge huge sigh of relief right there because Jonathan Jones is one of the most underrated corners in the game, one of the best slot corners in the game. He doesn't get talked about nearly enough. He doesn't get the credit he deserves. He's been great for us for a while now. And yeah, hearing that, I think he should be good to go week 1, it sounds like, because he was back at practice the next day, which was great. Friday, he was back at practice after suffering that injury. But when you hear Jonathan Jones goes down in pain, seems like he's in decent amount of pain and doesn't return to practice, you're like, oh, God, that's not good. And then we trade for Shaun Wade like 2 hours later. So it's like, oh, God, all right, what's going on here? But no, it seems like he's fine. Also, good news, David Andrews apparently just nicked up a little bit, just some football nicks and bruises. And he should be ready to go week 1 as well. So hopefully we're all healthy. Nikhil, I don't think is going to be playing week 1, but other than that, we've been a little bit lucky with some of the injuries. Hunter Henry should be good to go by then. He didn't play tonight. Jonnu Smith was back tonight. But yeah, so on the injury front, we got a little bit of good news this week. But one other guy I wanted to touch on a little bit, who I almost had on my good list, but I couldn't quite put him on there because he missed one towards the end. But Quinn Nordin, I thought he had a nice little bounce back game a little bit. Nick Folk made that first field goal, but then Nordin came in and he went 2 for 3 after that, I believe. But he missed that last one. If he would have made it, that would have helped his case a little bit. But do you think there's any shot he makes this roster, or do you think I think he probably ends up getting cut? Do you think he makes it to our practice squad? Do you think somebody picks him up, or what do you think is going to end up happening with Mr. LinkedIn?
I think he's going to be a practice squad guy. I would hate to see him get picked up by someone else because, like you mentioned, Nick Folk's getting up there in age. I think that Quinn Nordin, with being on practice squad, going through another training camp, could fix some of that accuracy issues. Maybe get that first year jitters out. So I would love for him to be a practice squad guy, and that's what I'm hoping. That's what I think will be. I don't know if anyone's going to want to take a shot on him to come in and be their kicker in the regular season after the outing he had against the Eagles and then missing another one tonight. Now he's shown potential, but I think that that's going to stay within New England's organization, and he's going to be someone that we put on the practice squad.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be the best situation for us and for him is having him develop for a year. One other question I had was, do you have any concern with Agholor? He started out camp so hot. He was doing great. That's all you heard about. Every day you heard 20, 40-yard touchdown from Agholor, seeing all these highlights, and then past 3 weeks, kind of silent. He's been having trouble dropping the ball again. He's kind of been in a rut, dealing with injuries, and you see him on a comeback route today. Cam tries to throw it to him. He has zero separation at all. And he's had 2 preseason games and he hasn't had a catch.
Yeah, there's concern in the numbers for me where, you want to see him be more productive in games. We've heard all this. You want to see him come out and do it in games, but I want to see how he does in season first. I think that he has 2 weeks now to get fully healthy. I think he had some nagging injuries from getting banged up, and I really do want to see him come out fully healthy week 1. Now, yeah, there's concern, like I mentioned. I think he's going to come out and be fine for us. I think he's going to add more than what he's going to add more to the offense than take away from it. So he's obviously going to be a deep threat. And when I look at it, I think maybe some of it's Cam Newton. I think Cam Newton maybe struggles with the long ball a little. He definitely has the arm strength, but maybe the deep ball accuracy is not there. And that's what Nelson Agholor is known for, is running those deep routes. So maybe that's some of his struggles is in games. He's maybe not running the, routes that he should be running, but I'm not going to hit the panic button quite yet. Yes, it's a little concerning. I still think that he's going to be, good for us, great for us.
Yeah, and he's going to be a key contributor to this team. He was signed to be our wide receiver 1. Seems like Jacoby's our true wide receiver 1, but he's going to be a big factor in getting Jacoby, Kendrick Bourne, and these tight ends open, taking the top out of the defense like we've talked about before. I think it's going to be huge. So we need him to be healthy, good to go, and being able to be that true deep threat. Because if Nelson Agholor is just a decoy out there and he's not really threatening the defense and making any plays, they might pay less attention to him, and that might hurt Hunter Henry's stock, Jonnu Smith's stock, and these slot guys that we have. So I'm hoping for him to be healthy these next couple weeks and be ready to go week 1 and to make a real impact, because he's been disappointing these past couple weeks. So I hope he lives up to the hype and to the contract that we paid him week 1. But one other guy I wanted to talk about was Henry Anderson. We signed him this year, not super late. We signed him a couple days into free agency, and he's been playing really late into games, which is I don't know. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if he's struggling to learn the playbook and he's just trying to get as many reps as he can. But what are your thoughts on that? Seeing Henry Anderson play into the fourth quarter, almost all three preseason games, and not really being out there necessarily a ton in that first quarter with the starters.
Yeah, so I saw him out there tonight, and because I think he had a sack, or he was in on one of those sacks where there was 3 or 4 towards the end of the game.
He played well. I almost had him on the good list, but
yeah,
it's weird to see him out there that late in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's someone that they talked about early on in camp, was how he was having a great camp. And so, yeah, it's a little concerning. Why is he out there? Does he need those extra reps? Is he out of shape? Is he, but when I look at the depth of that, that defensive line group, is just like, is he catching the short end of the stick? Because I'd personally rather play Guy. I'd personally rather play Barmore. I'd personally rather play Godchow. There's guys in that room that I would personally rather play, and nothing taking away from Henry Anderson, which is like, maybe he's catching the short end of the stick. So I think that he's going to be fine, and he's going to be a great rotational player. I would be very surprised if he gets cut. I don't think he's a cut candidate at all, especially with the struggles that New England had last year with the defensive line issues. I think with how well he's playing, that would be a very surprising cut come Tuesday at 4. So yes, it's concerning to see a guy like that has been playing so well play into the fourth, but maybe they, like you mentioned, he needed extra reps in the playbook. He needed more game experience. Maybe he's a little out of shape. So there's a lot of other things tying into it. And, maybe just they wanted to see more of him. He's having such a good camp. They want him to, see what he actually can do. So I'm not going to overreact on that one either, but there is, a little, I agree. There's something when I was looking at it, I'm like, why is Henry Anderson still in the fourth? But I'd rather have Henry Anderson in the fourth than Barmore. So
yeah, no, I agree. But I'd like to see Barmore keep getting his reps, because as a rookie, you like to see that. But I think Barmore is probably going to have more of an impact than Anderson this year, just because, what we've seen so far, it seems like he's out there with the starters more often and he's making an impact. He had his first 5 plays that he was in the play 3 or 4 of those times. He was just all over the place early. So he was in on that sack early with Josh Uche. They both combined to sack Daniel Jones. So I thought he had a good game, like we talked about. But yeah, I just thought that was odd seeing Henry Anderson in the game so late for a guy that we signed pretty early on in free agency.
Yep. Well, we'll see how he, if he makes the roster. Like I mentioned, I'd be surprised if he doesn't, with how well he's played. But roster cuts coming up Tuesday at 4 p.m. Is that Eastern time? We're on different time zones. So
yeah.
So 4 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Mountain time for me. But yeah, so we'll see. 26 roster cuts have to happen from 80 spots in preseason game 3 down to 54. So it's going to be hard. I'm sure there's going to be names like you mentioned, that are might be a little surprised, and they might go other places, and they're good players. So there's going to be some head scratchers. There's going to be things, but when you got Bill Belichick there, I trust him. I think he's going to make the right decisions, even though, some of them might not sit well with us right off the bat. But I'm excited to see who stays on this roster, who doesn't. Like you mentioned, 14 days until week 1. Can't come faster. Go get Miami. But that's it for me. Cole, you got anything before we sign off?
No, just excited. It was a big opportunity tonight for some guys to step up. I thought a couple depth pieces did that. A couple of the receivers, like we talked about, big opportunity for some guys to earn a roster spot. And what's going to be interesting to me is I'm sure we'll have a show right after roster cuts within the couple of days after that. But I'm curious to see who we sign after cuts occur, because we usually always sign somebody off somebody else's team when we have joint practices with them, with the Giants, with the Eagles. We had joint practices with these guys. So I'm curious to see if there's anybody that these guys liked enough to want to bring on the team, because that seems to happen every year. So I'm excited to see if we end up grabbing any of those guys, who we grab, if we grab another corner, wide receiver, just what we do. But yeah, hit that subscribe button if you guys haven't already. Turn on notifications. We have a podcast. We're doing these live shows usually twice a week. Once the season starts, we're going to have more of a consistent schedule that you guys can follow along with. But yeah, just excited. 2 weeks away from the regular season. It's back to football. I'm thrilled. I can't wait. It's been a long time coming. We've been waiting forever, it seems like. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. We'll be back probably Wednesday. We might have a show somewhere around there. But yeah, until then, we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Patriots Drive podcast. Follow us on social media to stay up to date with all things New England Patriots. Make sure you tune in to the next episode and check out patriotsdrive.com for more great content.
We're on to Cincinnati.